Okay, let's try to do this in one take. I don't know how people do recorded podcasts by themselves. This is a miserable, miserable experience. There's nobody even here. I'm so nervous. Um, it's so hard to do this. And part of me saying this is my warm up. This is my warm up to get comfortable on the mic and just talk. So, excuse me for all of that. All right, let's get into this. So, this is the Experience Transformation Podcast. My name is Mendy Posner, and I'll be your entertainment for the next couple of minutes. So I've been putting out these articles over WhatsApp. Some of you may have received them for a couple of months. And while backpacking over the last couple of days, I was on a little trip with a friend and a cousin of mine. And on the way home, we were talking about what we want to do in life and where we're trying to get to. And I had this idea of being a coach at one point. And he was encouraging me, saying, you've got what to offer, you've got what to say. People should hear what we spoke about on this trip. Like, you should really be talking about it. He said 50 people have great ideas that will benefit the world. Only one of them share it. Now, I don't know if this is a true statistic, but if it is, that means there's millions of people with great ideas because there's so many people sharing. So that's a beautiful thing. But his point was, you got to get content out there. And I said, I have content out there. I've got WhatsApp posts. I even had an Instagram page at some point with some videos. He's like, oh, you already started. The next step is to do a podcast or to put it on audio. I'm like, yeah, who reads this stuff anyway? He's like, yeah, read it, put it on audio. Then you'll move on to maybe having a video or something. And I'm like, my voice is so unpolished. And of course, that's the doubt that everybody has, and what stops everyone from doing what they can be doing. And so here I am, as uncomfortable as this is, in that 2.5 minute introduction, I do want to put a thought out there. An experience that I've gone through, and some of the insight I've gained from this experience. So, the title of this podcast is Life in the Graveyard. It may sound morbid and dark, but listen to the end because it's actually kind of uplifting. So as I'm journeying through this mysterious life, I'm starting to believe that people are really all the same. The challenges, the struggles that we have, the wins that we have, and the accomplishments. Every time I share something with someone on a vulnerable, deep level, they're always like, "Oh my God, me too." That always happens. Like, we're almost all the same. And so it's almost like there's this expression, I forget how it goes, but something about when the lights turn on in the dark basement, and everyone's there with you. We're all in it together. So on that note, I wanted to share something that was pretty powerful for me, pretty powerful insight and knowledge to know, and it may be helpful for you. And so here it goes. So I've been on this cycle where it doesn't matter if it's in my business, in my family life as a husband or a father, or even like this attempt to becoming a light in the world, a resource for others. It's like I start traveling down the road, and at some point I either would give up very quickly. In my olden days, give up pretty fast at the first sign of something. Oh, this is too hard. I'll never be able to do it. Never mind. Give up. Now that I've a little more experience, matured a bit, so I stay on it for a bit longer. A little bit longer. But then I'll always find, without failure, that I'm riding this train, and I just ride it straight into the graveyard. And I use graveyard because that was the vision I had, that I'm on this train and I'm going somewhere, And all of a sudden, here I am in the train graveyard with all the rest of my trains a failure. A bunch of carts, rusty, with no life in them, just laying. And there I am in this new train that I thought would take me to where I wanted to go, and here I am, just in the graveyard, dead. Or like a naval shipyard, if you can envision that. They take all these ships that have done, can't sail anymore, and they drop them off somewhere in the open, wherever it is, somewhere in some far off island, just to rot. And and that's where it is. I'm just there. I'm traveling, it's going well, and then I'm just faced with my ego, and and not even humbled. I'm like, oh, here I am, all over again. I'll never get anywhere, and it sucks, and so yeah, and the saddest part of it is that no one's even failing me. I'm just failing me. And I turned to my wife, Mushki, last night, and I said, Mushki, I just want peace. And she responded, so I act like a person who's at peace. So profound, so simple, such wisdom. There's no one fighting. No one fighting you. It's just you. Just act like someone who's at peace, and you'll have your peace. It's just like there's this whole bunch of self-sabotage. Any potential that I have, I'm just, confirming to myself again that no, you can't, Mindy. You're just a failure. Here you are in another train, ending up right in the graveyard together with all the other failed trains. And I sat there, and I asked, why? Why do I keep doing this? Now, like I said, there were many, many other trains in that graveyard. It wasn't just one time. So I'm a frequent flyer of this graveyard, what I'm calling the graveyard. So with that experience, there's actually some benefit, because I know that there's not one train here. There's hundreds of trains. I've done this many times, but every time I come into that graveyard, I leave on a new train. So I have hope. I have hope. But I need to sit through this, and I need to feel the pain, yet again, of this failed train. And so I sit there breathing, just breathing, feeling a mass amount of pain and tightness in my chest. And as I breathe, I also, begin to, as I sit there breathing, I begin to ask myself these questions. Why do I keep doing this? What am I afraid of? Why do I have so much fear of being successful? Why the fear of being out there, being a name? What's the big fear? And I remember in this conversation that I had with my cousin, he was also explaining to me that actually it may be very beneficial for me to get out there and to have a name, to have a podcast, or to have even, I'm calling a coach, I don't like that word anymore, but to be that coach that people, turn to. He says, you're shying from it, but perhaps if that was a part of your life, that you knew people were waiting to hear your broadcast, people were waiting to hear your podcast, people wanted to talk to you. One of my big fears was that I'm going through these phases all the time, being inspired and just being crushed, and being high and being low. And if I have a book of clients, and today I need to meet with someone, but I'm in this down state, like, how am I going to show up? And I've learned since, I've really learned that it's okay to show up being down. This is just got to be me. And today I'm having a hard day, and there's no problem showing up to a client honestly with your true self and what you feel today. So that problem has been solved. But he took it further. He said perhaps if you had that responsibility, it would even protect you, like your actual, like, you being a light for other people would actually raise you up, and it would keep you afloat. You'd have a purpose. You'd have responsibility that would keep you on your toes. It would may even be this great thing for you. And I'm like, so why am I so afraid of it? Why am I so afraid of it? And so I allowed, all those feelings and all that pain and sensation to be there in my body, and just breathe. And I pray. I also like to pray. I turn and I say, God, Hashem, I'm here. I know you guide me, and you keep guiding me. And so if I'm in this space again, then it's part of the plan, and it's the best thing for me. It's what I need. On a side note, the bracha of Shasali Kol Tzariki, you give me all that I need. I see it that way. It's not just you take care of my needs. Like I said, everything that happens to me is exactly what I need. And so when I'm faced with, that ego once again just sits there and crushes me and shows me that I'm still, a work in progress, that's exactly what I need. And so if I'm in this graveyard yet again, this is what I need, and I accept that and keep guiding me. And that's when the hope starts to come in. The light starts to shine. And the thoughts start to come in. Now, what is a graveyard, actually? A graveyard is not a place of death. We don't go to the graveyard to die. It's actually a place from where new life is born. This train that I dropped off at the graveyard last night, it wasn't a train of failure, but it's a train that accomplished its mission, and I can let go of it. There's no such thing as failing. We learn from all this stuff. I bumped into my ego again and saw its ugliness, but it's a train car. It takes me places. And now that it's revealed its face, we see that it's ego, I can bring it to the graveyard to put it to rest. I don't need it. It's another layer. But out of that graveyard is where I'm going to find my new train and ride it, hopefully. Not hopefully, it always goes to success. It's just when I'm finished with that mission, then now I have to experience a death of some sort. It's really the death of my own ego. Another layer stripping away, which feels extremely painful, but only to reveal another layer of light. And if I were to be very honest, and not just look at the failed trains in the graveyard, quote unquote, but to actually look at what these trains had accomplished before they came to their final resting place in the graveyard, I would say, a lot of good has been done. Even in my business, there were some things that, as an Amazon seller, some products that did take off and that are still going. As a father, I've had some great moments with my kids which will last forever. As a husband, am I there most of the time? Probably. But we like to focus on the failed moments. But actually, there's so much light that before these trains took their final stop at the graveyard, they accomplished a lot. And we need to be honest about that and actually look at our light. It's just that sometimes our light doesn't have our name on it anymore. Like the train holds our name. The light that we put out there may not have our name on it, but it's lighting up the world. And we know where it came from. We know it's us. No one else has to know. That's okay. We know. And to be honest about that too, just like we're honest about our failures, quote unquote, to really be honest about our wins and about our accomplishments, about the light that we actually do have. It's almost like an analogy that came to mind was when they want to put something into orbit. So there's a rocket that sends, that shoots up into outer space, and only the tip of the rocket will disconnect and actually, remain in orbit, whether it's a satellite or astronauts going to wherever they're going. The remainder of the rocket falls back, comes back to the ground. Its mission is finished. It doesn't have to stay in orbit. That's not its point. It brought something up there, and that thing will stay there forever. And when it comes back, using our analogy, to the graveyard. It actually now prepares for another mission. And so in this time, it's kind of like the butterfly cocooning. I sit in my cocoon. I need to grow new wings so I can fly again. And when that mission is accomplished, I come back. And that's the cycle. It's actually not a miserable cycle. It's a beautiful cycle. It's the cycle of life and rebirth and death, only to be reborn again. And this was just something really powerful for me to see today, and to really understand that it's all okay. And now I imagine that there's so many other people that actually experience all this together with me, never alone. And I'm taking the step to put out this podcast, which I know I'm stuttering my way through. Like I said in the beginning, whoever does this, I don't know how you do it, but this is podcast number 1 that I'm recording that's not in a class setting. And people say, don't judge someone's podcast on their first 10 episodes. It takes time to get better at it, to become polished, to find a greater vocabulary. But I'm not saying don't judge my podcast. You could totally judge it. That's okay. I'll judge it with you. I'm just recognizing that I'm making an effort. And I'm proud of myself. So, thank you for listening. And hopefully there'll be some more. And if you liked it, please share it. Please reach out to me and give me some positive feedback. That goes a long way. Much love to everybody, and have a wonderful Shabbos.